houseplant hoarder. I currently have, if you look over here, there's a bunch, but that's only a small amount of the plants that I have in this house. And so the current number, I believe, is 149 plants. Not all of those are houseplants, but most of them are houseplants. Like 138-ish of them are houseplants. And yeah, so this has all happened. Like, if you look back at my channel, you'll notice, like, the earliest houseplant tours, which was maybe in, I think my earliest one was my pre-spring 2017 one, maybe? I don't know if that's true, but that's not long ago. And I maybe had 10, like maybe 20 plants, not really that many at all. And most of them were succulents. So, I'm gonna just try to chat about that a bit. Jack would like you to know that he has arrived, and he is here. I'm going to be annoying during this video. No, go away. So, first off, I want to say I'm sorry for the very poor audio quality, probably, and possibly video quality, because I just film on my phone, and I don't have any fancy YouTube gear, you know, yeah, so sorry about that, but, you know. So, how did this happen? How did I acquire so many plants? And I guess the big question of this video, I guess, is like, how many plants is too many plants? Do I have too many plants? Which, So, I first started getting into plants after I'd been working at a greenhouse in the summers. Mostly, I was into succulents at first, and I slowly kind of transitioned within the past year into houseplants after switching to a different greenhouse job, which had a lot of houseplants. So this was really only within the past year when I, first of all, had a job. That's important. And second of all, had a job in a greenhouse that had a significant amount of houseplants. So, yeah, I kind of started slowly accumulating at first because I was not sure. I was very tentative about how houseplants would survive in my house because I had my start in succulents, which did not like my house because it's like dark as hell. But, you know, houseplants are, you know, adapted to living in our homes, and succulents are mostly outside plants, except for all my Haworthias all over the place. But yeah, so I think I really started picking, like, the amount of plants I was getting started picking up when I started getting involved with some various social media communities, whether that be on Instagram or YouTube. And YouTube has this really big, like, haul culture, like, where you want to be, you know, showing off your stuff and buying stuff and products and blah. And that's just, you see all these new plants, all this cool stuff, and people always buying plants and showing them off. And I think that's great. I mean, it's cool and great. But, you know, like, at what point do I have not enough window space? I think, like, in general, you get into a community type thing where, like, the urge to just buy more plants is just, like, ever present, I guess. And I think don't think there's anything wrong with buying more plants. Like, I love buying plants, I love getting plants, I love bringing plants home, and seeing new plants, and just, like, love the look of, like, this, like, a bunch of plants. But, you know, the point where there's too many plants, I think, it's not a number. I don't think it's a number of plants that you have, but I think, yeah, there's just some red flags that you got too many plants, and I might be encroaching on that. So the big one for me is involuntary downsizing, where you have so many plants that your plants start dying because you don't have time to take care of them or give them the attention that they need. So an aspect of that also that I've noticed in myself is that I tend to underpot or not. Like when I first started with plants, I would like overpot, like repot too often, and now I am kind of underpotting. So putting plants, like not bumping plants up as often as they probably should be, not repotting as much because then they'll grow bigger and grow out of their space. You know, in general, like putting them in smaller pots so I can fit more. Like all my little Haworthias that are just right over here, Haworthiopsis and such, they're like all in these little tiny pots so I can have more in this little space. And like there's a point where it's like, am I restricting the plant's actual like ability to look good and grow and like have new roots and be happy and like maybe bloom, maybe, I don't know, just keep growing and being pretty? Like, am I restricting that because I have too many plants? Like, I don't know. And then also, like, having so many plants, I don't focus as much on the pots they're in, so I don't have the money to buy fancy pottery for every single one of my plants, especially if they're going to outgrow them, or if, you know, they happen to break, or, you know, something like that. So most of my plants are in terracotta. I think that's a good choice for some plants and not for others. A lot of them are just in plastic nursery pots. Like this little guy here is still in his nursery pot. I don't think he's even been repotted. I don't even think that's my plant, though. I think that's my mom's. So another thing I've noticed with having a ton of plants is, you know, if you had maybe 5, 6, 10 plants, and you had one that had an issue, you could focus on that issue and you'd be like, that's fine. Maybe it has mealybugs. I'll treat it. Maybe it has a nutrient deficiency. I'll fertilize it. Where if you got 150 plants, you might have 10, 20 plants having an issue at a time. Whether that's because you're not able to give them enough individual attention, or because, you know, there just might be more pests or more something, there's not enough space, maybe there's fungus because they're too close together, I don't know. And like I thought that I was just running into more problems, but I realized I just had more plants. But another thing is like the logistics of going on vacation, which I'm planning on doing this winter, and leaving my plants in the care of my mother for 3 weeks, maybe. But she killed one of my begonias last time, and it's only just beginning to recover, so it's not dead, but, you know, it's like, do you have someone that you trust to take care of your plants, or are you willing to just, like, get some hydrospikes, which I have now, and leave them for, you know, a long time, or do you just not go on vacation? I don't know. And then actually moving is like something I've been concerned about because, you know, obviously I live with my parents, which is hopefully not a permanent thing. But yeah, actually moving with all of these plants when the time comes for that to happen, if I don't choose to majorly downsize, is going to be interesting and an adventure for sure. But yeah, my plan to have less plants. So, first of all, I want to try to focus more on fancy pots and finding appropriate pots for my appropriate plants rather than just shoving them in anything or like underpotting, overpotting, whatever. Number 2, I've already started this, is obviously related to that, but kind of bumping up plants that need bumped up so that they can grow bigger and stronger and happier. And I guess also like not focusing so much on cramming all my plants in, like, and kind of, you know, making them look nice. Then also, probably the biggest one, I think, that I most often, like, struggle with, is only getting plants, or only having plants that I am really into, like, really interested in, and not having plants just to have plants. Like whether they be like a trendy plant or whether they be like, you know, just a plant that I rescued or something that I might have a kind of sentimental attachment to, but I don't actually like the plant. I personally am really big into begonias and really big into a lot of the cool aloes and Haworthias. I've been trying to do this for the past 6 months-ish, was just get away from going on Instagram and being like, ooh, I want that plant, going and buying it. Like, just kind of keeping the stuff that I enjoy. So I think I have done enough yammering on right now. I don't know what the point of this video wholly as a whole was, but I guess, like, how many plants do you think is too many plants? Because I know that's going to be different for everyone, and I definitely see people who say they have too many plants and they have like 10 plants, or like people who say they have too many plants and they have 700 plants. And I have 150. So how many plants is too many plants? I don't know. Who knows? Hello.